Okay, ladies and gentlemen, today we are here with another former Major League Baseball player, former New York Met, also known as Hojo for short, where you might know him as Howard Johnson. Howard, welcome to the podcast today.
George, good to meet you this morning. It's very, very nice to see you.
It's
We had fun last week.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So last about 2 weeks ago, Hojo and I were at Mets Fantasy Camp, and a lot of the listeners have heard me talking about Mets Fantasy Camp over these number of podcasts, and we've had a lot of the coaches on. And when I saw that Hojo was on our list of coaches, I was very enthused. Quite frankly, it was like when I first got to meet Doc, and which was tremendous because I had a poster of Doc on my wall for years, and now I could text Doc whenever I feel like it, and it's a pretty cool situation. And now that I get to add you to that list is quite frankly tremendous. You and Tank and the rest of the guys. It's just it's been known as Mets Fantasy Camp for years, but a lot of us started recalling it Mets Family Camp. So
that's cool. I like it.
Yeah. So it was definitely one of my privileges to meet you. Why don't you tell the listeners and the people watching what you kind of been up to since things have been since baseball has been over for you?
Well, let's see. When I got done playing, I went into coaching, scouting and coaching with the Mets. So I was pretty much right into it from the get-go. And that led me through the minor league system as a coach, and eventually got to the major leagues as a coach with the Mets. I was there for 4 years, from 2007, 8, 9, and 10. And so when that stint ended, I took a break from baseball for a couple of years, had my knees replaced, just did some other things, just kind of clear my mind, and then went back into it and hooked up with the Mariners with Seattle, and coached for them in AAA 1 year, and then the major leagues for a couple. And then was a coach with the Texas Rangers system after that for 4 years. And I really enjoyed that. And that ended. And then last couple of years, COVID hit. I was going to coach in Mexico and decided not to do that. And so in the meantime, though, here in Nashville, we've been in Nashville now for about almost 10 years. My son and I own a facility, indoor sports facility down in Franklin. And for the last 5 years, we've owned that. And he runs it full time. We're the co-owners. He runs it full time, and I do lessons out of there. So I've been busy with that. It's been fun. I've enjoyed it. Enjoyed coaching kids and parents as well. At that level, it's been good. So I've been involved in the game. It's helped me in a lot of ways refine my message, so that when you teach a kid, or you talk to a kid, or you talk to a parent, you can be coherent, and at least they can understand what you're trying to tell them. And I don't know, you just try to be honest with them and do the best you can for the kids. And then opportunity came to go to fantasy camp this year, or family camp, and I was all in on that. So it's been good.
Obviously on this podcast for listeners and people that have watched us before, everyone now knows the fantasy camp is synonymous now with the name Doug Dickey, and who puts on a tremendous type of camp. What is it like for you as a former player to come in, be a coach for us hacks, for lack of a better term, who've never gotten to the levels that you all have gotten to as coaches? What's it like for you guys?
We enjoy it. We enjoy it on two fronts. We get to see friends, guys we played with or against, that we haven't seen in years, like especially for me, because I haven't been in fantasy camp in 15 years. So I got to see a lot of people. Doug wasn't even around then. So it's the first time I got to meet Doug personally. He does a great camp, by the way. But just catching up, reconnecting with a lot of people. And then the other side of it is you guys. I mean, you guys come in. None of us can play the game anymore at that level. I mean, we all have it up here in our minds. And so that's the bond that we all share. It's up here, it's in here, it's in your heart. So for you guys to go out there and give it everything you have, you prepare for it physically, mentally, you guys are pumped to do it. We're there to be right with you guys, and we want to help you have a good experience and teach you a few things maybe along the way, make some new friendships, kind of establish some new friendships for down the road. You never know what's going to happen. You meet people all the time, so
Yeah.
it's been fun for us.
Yeah. So I mean, like, as an example, like I'm in real estate right now, but everyone now knows me a lot of camp because of what I just did, where I was running for political office. But just the contacts that I've made, just regular people, they're like, "Oh, you're in real estate, right?" And it just the relationships that come from camp. Like, there are guys that I literally talk to all year, and we look forward to getting ready to go to camp, or we've played in other tournaments before, or we pick up the phone and BS with guys. So for me, it's like when I did camp, people have heard me talk about this before, I was supposed to be one and done. And then after I did the first one, I'm sitting back going, all right, now how do I sell doing this again? And having this become a thing for me. So but definitely appreciate that. So during your
How many camps have you done, by the way? Just curious.
so this was my third camp.
Okay.
This was my third camp. So I've had one coach in 3 years.
Tank,
which is Tank. So love Tank. Tank is tremendous. But people have heard on the podcast how Tank has been on the podcast before, how Tank went about picking me the first time he picked me, and I was like, oh God, I just pissed this big ass guy off because of something I was doing in the locker room.
Don't want to mess with that guy.
No, I definitely don't. But first year I had Tank and Pete Shurik, which was tremendous. And then last year was Tank and Ricky. And then this year was Tank, Ricky, and Heath, and Heath is tremendous too. So this was the first year we had 3 guys, but it's always good. I love Hank, excuse me, Tank, if you will.
Tank.
But yeah, Tank actually had drafted me when my locker was across from his, and he saw after evaluations, I went inside by myself. I was just sitting in the locker room in shorts and whatever. And I had one beer over on this side. I had another one by my stool on the other side. And he walked in, it was just me. And he looked and he goes, you got a game this afternoon. And I go, yeah, I know. He says, well, don't that going to be a problem? I said, well, this one's not going to be the problem. And he just looks at me and go, this one might be the problem. I picked up the other one. And he just no-selled it. I was like, oh God, I just ticked them off. And he looks at me and goes, I'm drafting you on principle. Just turned and walked away. And he did, which was tremendous. But
that's awesome.
That being said, the stories that we hear from you guys during camp are just tremendous. But what would you say, since you've played in the, obviously in the majors, what would you say is one of the things that is at the top of your list? You've probably got a couple of things, obviously, 30-30 and things of that nature, but what would you put at the top of your list of accomplishments that you had in baseball?
Well, I would probably separate accomplishments from a team accomplishment and a personal accomplishment. And the team ones are obvious. I mean, the 86 championship and the 84 championship, both of those were, you can't replace those. They're always going to be 1, 2 on my list. Met a lot of great people along the way. It was all great experiences, both in Detroit and New York. And then from a personal standpoint, I would say the 30-30s, but more and more I think about that, the 91 home run title and the RBI title, that's starting to creep up there, because the 30-30, I did it 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
You do it one time, everybody says, well, anybody can do it once. That's kind of what that's what guys say. Anybody can do it once. So you try to do it again, and then you do it another time, and it's like, okay, that's how you earn your way in the game of your peers. Anybody can do it one time. But when you lead a league in a category like that, two categories like that, you think about it, I'm like, man, that's pretty good, because I'll always have my name up on that list of guys when they list home run leaders each league, home run leaders National League. I'm going to be up on that list. I think I'm still the last switch hitter to lead the National League in home runs. So I think I think I have to, someone have to fact check me on that one, but yeah. So as the years go by, that seems to be the one that's been kind of forgotten a little bit. A lot of people know my 30-30 stuff, but
Mhm.
you know, the 91 thing was pretty awesome.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So that 86 team, obviously a lot's been talked about in the specials and stuff, in
Mhm.
regards to that team. Talk a little bit about the mentality of that team. I know we've heard a lot about it, but what was it like to be part of a team that basically had that mentality that we're going to beat the hell out of you every single time we get out on that field, and it doesn't make a difference if it's the starting guys or our bench guys, we're still going to beat the living
Yeah,
hell out of you.
I think that the key is you can have that attitude, but you got to have something to back it up. And I believe that we, to a guy, felt like we were that talented of a team. So no matter what pitcher we sent out on the mound, whether it's Doc or Ronnie, whoever was on the mound that night could beat you if we just do our job. We have our game. We just play our game. The two similarities between the 84 team and the 86 team is that we won. And I would imagine that it's like this on every championship team. Everybody has a role to play. And when you play those roles and everybody just plays them and doesn't try to like get out of their role, just play it. Do your thing. You know, if you had a band and all of a sudden the guy doing bass guitar wanted to play, lead guitar, it wouldn't work. So it's kind of the same thing. You want to have guys do their thing and execute in their role, and that's it. And if everybody just kind of buys into that, then that goes a long way, man, to keeping everybody happy. Because what happens in most teams is that when you're good, and it happened to our team. I mean, listen, we had players on the bench. Myself, Kevin Mitchell. We had a few guys on the bench that ended up being good players, but you can only keep in the younger guys in those roles for so long, and then eventually they're going to be wanting to be in those bigger roles, and that's kind of what happens to teams. So that's the reason why teams struggle as they age. And what we try to do is we just stay in our lane, just do your thing, do your job. That was Davey's message the whole time. Do your job, and everything's going to be fine. And let him take care of the other stuff. And that's what we did. We let it go. I wasn't playing every day like I did the year before. Most time I played every day, but 86 I didn't. But Davey found a way to use me and use me to my best self that year. So that's fine. I'm good with that. I want to win. That's my number one goal. So I was more than willing to buy into that. And I think the more players can buy into that, stay in their lane, do their job, stay in their role, and not let the outside stuff influence like who's playing, who's not. Just pull for the guy who's in the lineup. That's it. And if you could suck up your pride for that long for a season, I think you could win. And that to me, that's the key to winning, is being talented, yes, but also making sure that guys understand that you have a role, you have a job to do, and I expect you to do it. And if you do it, then you're going to be fine. It's good for everybody in the end.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, and I get a lot of, I coached baseball and I coach softball for my youngest still. So I got a lot of former players of mine that listen and watch, these podcasts and that sort of thing. And
Mhm.
so it almost sounds like pretty much it's actually great advice to give to young kids nowadays, where it's, a lot of these kids nowadays think, well, I should be playing over this one, or I should be playing
Yeah,
over that one. Um, it sounds more of what you're saying is wait for your opportunity and then continue to work on what you need to work on. And then when you're given your opportunity, go after it and let them know, okay, you made a mistake. Use it as
yeah,
a motivational
exactly.
tool.
That's exactly right. I mean, we talk about kids, right? So any kid, actually, any professional player, take a professional guy, right? His pride may say, I want to play. I should be out there playing. I want to play, right? Over this guy. But in your heart of hearts, you know that there's a reason why that guy is playing and you're not. And so kids should know why they're not playing as well, as opposed to we shield them and say, oh yeah, you should be playing. I don't understand. It's favoritism, or you're getting a raw end of the stick, or this is not fair. And that's why we have problems we have today, right? In society. There's reasons why. I mean, you have things to work on in your game. Make yourself better. Make yourself better. There's nothing stopping you in this country. Nothing stopping you on your team to try to be better. That's the bottom line. From now to the day I die, I'm gonna try to be better at something. That's the way I execute my life. So I want to try stuff, and I want to be better at it. And so that's the thing that kids need to understand, and parents need to understand, that it's not a coach is holding your kid down. It's that, yeah, your kid's a good ball player, but guess what? He needs to work on these things too.
Mhm.
And if he does that, I'm telling you, at the end of the day, or at the end of his little season or two, he's going to be a lot better off.
So I mean, one of the things you just said that made me smile a little bit is that you want to get better every single day. That's actually one of
Yeah.
the things that I always say is I want to get 1% better every single day. So then
Mhm.
at the end of the year, I'm 365% better. But
Yeah.
I think one of the important things that you said, because a lot of people, in our age of travel ball and little league and things of that nature, and things that I've tried to express to not only my own son, but kids that I've coached before is, if you have a question on why so and so is playing over you, then go have a conversation with the coach and say, what do I have to do to get better? Use it as a motivational tool and kind of go from
Yeah.
there, and not have mom and dad do it. Have you do it as a youngster, because you need to be able to take accountability for the stuff that you're going to do. Because again, but when you grow up and you're in a job, when you want to know why you didn't get the raise, mom and dad ain't going to come and ask your boss why you didn't get a raise. You need to
Yeah.
be able to go and ask why you didn't get the raise and try to learn from that experience. So, but that's something I've tried to teach to my son. I've, watched him
Good
go,
for you, man.
I don't want
Beautiful.
to do that. But then I'm like, I made him do it. And it said, okay, well, what was the reaction? And there's times that he's gotten reaction. And then there's times that he didn't get a reaction. So I'm like, well, then you've got to now ask yourself a question. What do you want to do? Do you want to stay where you're at? If you're not getting a response from your coach, then you got to find out, okay, is this someplace that I want to be? Because the coach is supposed to get everybody better, not just certain players better.
I don't know one coach. I can't even fathom that. If some kid, I don't care if it was the worst kid on the team, came up to me and said, "Hey, coach, how can I be better? How can I do? What can I do?" I don't know what coach in his right mind would view that as a positive. You know,
Yeah, I
view it
know.
as a positive, man. That's what you want. You want that feedback.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what you know. What I mean, it's the unknown. That's the part that stifles kids. So just find out.
Yeah,
It's good. It's good stuff. You want people to evaluate you.
yeah.
Just evaluate you as a player and say, I love your energy, but you got to do these things. And we used to call that tough love back in our day, right? So that's how you did it. So you say, look, man, you could be a really good ball player. I love your energy. I love the way you play when you're out there, but this is where you got to be better. Okay. And I will work on that. I'll help you try to be better in these areas. But as long as you want to be better at it, I can help you be better at it. And that's what parents need to hear. That's what kids need to hear.
What would be, I mean, we just talked about this, and obviously this has to do with kids nowadays, but what advice would you give to kids? Obviously everyone's dream is to do what you've done, right?
Mhm.
Even us old guys that never went to that level, the dream is living the dream as a big leaguer. But for those young kids that want to go down that road, what kind of advice would you give to those kids that say, hey, I want to do what you guys did?
Well, a lot of kids want to be it, but there's one thing about wanting to be it and then actually trying to do it. So again, I would go back to the game. I would go back to your parents, if you're a player, and just talk to them and say, I really love this game. I want to play this game at the highest level. What that's what I want to do, Dad. That's what I want to do, Mom. What can I do? So what I would suggest is you spend practice time. Nothing can replace the time that you work on your game away from the field. Okay, that's like money in the bank. So, and I taught my kids all the same lessons, and the kids that I teach now. So the work you put off in the cage, that you actually go do in the cage, or you go in the weight room, or you go and get ground balls, find a brick wall to throw against. That's the things I used to do when I was little. All that stuff that you do, that's like money in the bank. That's never going to go bad. It's always going to it's going to create interest. You're going to be a wealthy person by the end of it. So if you do that, if you make an effort to try to be better at your game and like different aspects of your game, and practice the different aspects of your game like separately for a while, there's no choice but to get better. I don't know of anything that the more you apply yourself doing, you're going to get worse at it, except for maybe golf. But that's something that's a whole other story.
That was me. That was me yesterday on the course yesterday.
But that's the lesson that I would tell kids. Like, look, man, you want to be good at this? Tell my son, look, you want to be good at this? This is what you got to do. It's time away from the field. Go practice by yourself. Find a way to go practice by yourself. There's nothing stopping you. You got nice weather. You got facilities everywhere. You got places to go. You can go throw a ball against the wall, get ground balls basically on your own. You can throw against it. You can go find a tee, hit the ball into the net. There's all kinds of stuff. We used to go back of the YMCA when I was little, when I was a kid, and the guys in our neighborhood, we used to just throw a long toss. Like this YMCA we had in Clearwater had this huge back area. It was all kind of wooded, but it had like a track around. It's kind of nice. And man, we used to throw like long toss on that thing. To try to strengthen our arms. That's how we did it. You know, that you just find a way to go do it away from the field. You know, and I think that's kind of lost a lot in today's society because there are a lot of facilities now. There's a lot of coaches out there, some good, some bad. There's a lot bad. There's a lot good too, but you got to find them. You got to hunt them down. You're not going to find a lot of good, I would say, off the internet at this point, especially not in your first try. That's something you got to look at. You got to like research, and you got to find somebody you trust and talk to them about it. You know, if kids would talk to me or my son about it, or you know, your kids would talk to you about it, George, or you know, whatever, you know, you would help them. So it's all good. I mean, you just have to be diligent, and as a parent, you can't be afraid to push that button.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that was funny that I had a whole conversation with my son, who's a sophomore in Wagner at this point, and I looked at him at one point. I said, "Well, what do you want to do?" And he looked at me. What do you mean? I go, "What do you want to do with baseball? Like, if you want to," and he says, "I want to." His goal is to play college ball, and he's a lefty. He's a pitcher, as a first baseman. I said, "Okay." I said, "That's your goal." He said, "That's my goal." I says, "Okay." I said, "I have no problem helping you with your goal." I said, "But let's also remember, you're a kid. There's times that you're going to get lazy. If you want me to support you in your goal, then you need to understand that if I need to be in your you know what, then I'm going to be in your you know what, because I'm going to come back to this conversation and say, you were the guy that told me you wanted this, not the other way around. I don't care if that's what you want to do, if it's not what you want to do. It's fine by me." And I think that's sometimes the conversations that kind of need to be had.
Yeah, honest conversations.
Yeah.
honest conversations you got to have, and you got to be willing to accept it too.
Yeah.
Kid, we live in a society today. I hate to sound like I'm an old man here, but like
I
kids don't
got
like.
some gray hair up in here.
Yeah, I got a lot. I have a
Man,
lot.
it's,
Yeah, but kids don't like to hear the negative stuff. We're always taught. We're always told now. It's got to be positive. You can't be critical. You can't do this. Can't do that. Well, I mean, then you're in the wrong business. If you can't be critical, how do you survive every day? I mean, you have to use your mind to be critical and think about what's going on. As an athlete, especially, you have to be critical. You have to be self-critical. You have to be self-aware of what you are. And if you can't be honest with that, then find somebody who will be honest with
yeah.
you. That's a gift. Somebody who's going to be honest with you, that's a gift. Because you'll never forget with that when they're honest. When someone's honest with you, George, they say, "Look, the reason you're not in the lineup or you can't do this is because of this." And chances are that player already knows it. And I've been in those conversations.
Yeah.
I've asked coaches, I've heard the truth. I say, you know what, you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm going to make that my strength. And so when I got a chance to play every day in 87, that off season, when I knew Ray Knight was going to leave the team, I knew what my weaknesses were, because I was at that crossroad and I was like, okay, I'm going to make my weaknesses my strength. I'm not going to have that on me, so that in the ninth inning, when we're playing the Cardinals and Whitey Herzog brings in a left-hander to face me and I have to hit right-handed, I'm not going to be up there thinking that I'm not going to get a hit. I need to know in my and my heart that I can get this job done. So in order to do that, I have to make my right-handed swing my dominant swing. That's how I had to think it. And I was able to accomplish that. And that's the only reason why I was able to be an everyday player from 87 on.
So you actually, that's a good segue.
I used the Whitey Herzog analogy in my mind. That was like what I was thinking the whole time.
Yeah. So what segue into the current game and kind of what you're talking about right now, where managing, matchups and things of that, and they have now gone towards analytics more than probably ever. And we've obviously had a bunch of us have had conversations about the difference between managers and analytics, and things like the shift where the third baseman's playing in the outfield and things of that nature. What do you think of some of the new parts of the game, that, quite frankly, in my estimation, when I look at things like the shift and being as a fan and being as somebody who, like you, would say, okay, if I see everybody's going to go do this, now what I'm going to go in the off season is I'm going to go and work on trying to hit the ball the other way, regardless of what the analytics and, the stats and my money that I'm going to get and all the other kind of things that we all know go on in today's game. What's your opinion of all of the different changes in the game? And I don't want to say, is there a lack of that work that you put in with Whitey, knowing that what was going to come up, but the fact that today's players are not doing the other things that you guys used to do. We're thinking about, okay, they all attack me this way, but now we all see the shift is coming left and right with some of these players. It's like, okay, well, it's every year. It's not, okay, well, this guy's now able to go to the other side. We can't do this anymore. What's your opinion on those facets of the game? I know I threw a lot of ones out there for you. So
no, it's good. No, it's good. It's a good topic. Well, I think that, well, let me start out by a couple things. First of all, like, I'm against the shift, and this is my reason why. Even before there was a shift, before teams shifted the way they do now, where they put everybody on one side of the field, hitting was already inherently unfair towards the hitter, because you're only successful 3 out of 10. So you're already going up there with the odds against you. And so from that end of it, I'm thinking, okay, well, that's before there was a shift. Now there is a shift, and you're taking the slim pluses that the hitter might have, and all of a sudden now you're diminishing those even. So I think it makes, from a fan standpoint, okay, from a fan standpoint, I'm thinking that makes it unfair, like for them as well, because you're not going to get as much. I don't know. It's just harder to get hits. No one wants to see outs, 27, like guys just roll over, out, strike out, pop up, out. They want to see activity. They want guys on the bases. They want that. People want that. Okay. Just like a shot clock in basketball. That's why they put it in there, because teams are just going down there taking the air out of it, right?
Mhm.
That's how they used to play the game, but not anymore. They don't do that anymore because people want to see action. I think that in baseball, it's the same thing. It's not that we need the time clock. It's just that we need to have just a little bit more opportunity built into it for the hitter. That's my only point. Okay.
Mhm.
The other side of the coin is, I get it. And if you're going to stack guys on one side of the field, and I was a pull hitter when I played, I would have had to really work hard to try to hit the ball the other way. Okay. And I would have spent time trying to do that, because that's a weakness. All right. Now, what happens is you learn to do that. And once you start hitting the ball the other way, they won't shift you. Then you're back on an even field. Okay. So that's one side of it. I get that. The other side of it is, a lot of hitters, I would say the vast majority, I almost want to say all hitters, it's very hard for them to change what's natural for them and learn the unnatural. It can be done in degrees, but it's very hard to do. And so me as a pull hitter, to try to learn to hit the other way, it would have taken a lot of work to do that. And I would have put the work in to figure that out. Okay. But the other side you got to look at now is, what do teams want? I don't know that teams want their players trying to beat the shift. I think they want them to go over the shift. That's what I think that the object of offense is nowadays. It's either home run, double, or nothing. And so if there's no demand to beat the shift, then why would hitters want to beat the shift? So that's kind of my look at all sides of the whole thing.
Okay. That's
From
valid.
a fan standpoint, I'd rather see action. I'd rather see guys on base. I'd rather see, more base runners, more activity going on. That used to be the National League way of playing baseball. That's what that was why it was different than the American League. Without the DH. So you had a lot of activity, a lot of moving parts in the National League, and people loved watching National League baseball. I was drawn to that. I was, when I got traded to the Mets, I was like, thank you. That was my style of play. And so, that's kind of my view of all of it. You have to do what you have to do to be successful, to help your team. Okay, to win, to try to be successful, to have a career. But from a fan standpoint, and even from a front office standpoint, there's a part of the front office, I think they would rather have guys try to beat the shift over it, than try to make an out, getting a single to the other opposite field. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why Joey Gallo with the Rangers, they stacked 8 guys on one side of the field, 7 guys or whatever. And he tried to hit the ground ball to shortstop. Well, Joey Gallo can hit the ball 500 feet. So if he hits a ground ball single to left field, if I'm the opposing team, I'll take that, Joey. You can have that all day long. I'll give you the single. I'm not going to give you the double or the homer. So that's kind of where the game is right now.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a stalemate.
So with now analytics becoming a major, obviously, part of the game, to me, one of the things that's missing, quite frankly, is managers having the ability to, from what a fan's perspective, what we see is manage the game. Now it's more of
Yeah,
managing personalities, because it almost seems um like things like if somebody's hot, you don't sit a guy that's hot. You keep
yeah,
sitting him out there until he cools off. But
yeah,
nowadays, it's like, well, he's due for a day off. Well, I don't care as a fan. I don't care if you want a freaking day off. He's hot as a pistol. I want him out there every week.
yeah.
Um, where do you see, do you see any, and don't get me wrong, I do believe analytics is a part of the game, but it shouldn't be reliant on every part of the game. So I think that there needs to be a little bit of a balance in between the two. Where
True.
do you see us going back to the days of the Whitey Herzogs, the Davy Johnsons? I think I think Tony La Russa and maybe even Buck Showalter, where they're actual, not to discredit any of the other current managers that are out there, but they're actually guys that go out and play whether they're hunches or what they see, as opposed to what a spreadsheet is going to go sit back and tell them.
Yeah, you're not gonna get too many managers saying that they did this because they had a gut feel anymore. They don't do that.
Yeah.
Um, I learned a long time ago that as a manager, it's more important to manage your team, manage your players. That's the number one goal. Yeah, you want to know the other team, yes, okay, but manage your own players. Like know what your guys can do, what they can't do, and that helps you put them in the right position. Now, because you want to have each guy have an opportunity to help the team win, and there's a role for each guy. So as a manager, you find out what that role is. Now, analytics, what it does is it changes that equation a little bit. It says, well, and these guys, they'll say that they're not trying to be predictive with analytics, but really that they are. They're trying to predict.
Yeah.
So they're trying to say, well, the numbers say he's not going to get a hit off of this guy, or the numbers say that he's due for a day off. Numbers say that if he pitches to one more batter, he's going to get lit up. So your eyes should validate what the numbers are telling you, and vice versa. The numbers should validate what your eyes tell you. If they're not equal, then you got to pick something that you're gonna what's gonna drive your decision.
Yeah.
Is it the number, or is what my eyes tell me? Okay.
Yeah.
So based on numbers, if a guy's a 300 hitter and he's 2 for 4 or 2 for 3 or 2 for 2 his first 2 at bats, I should pull him out because the odds are saying he's going to make an out the next at bat. That's what the odds say. I should take him out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't do that. Why? Because your eyes tell you that the guy is locked in, that he can hit the guys that are in their bullpen. He can do those things. Your eyes and your heart tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
But the numbers may say otherwise. So what do you do? That's a tough question. I've not been in that position before. However, I think you'd be foolish not to look at all the look at the numbers and look at all the factors that are involved before you make a decision. But I'm always gonna kind of go back to what my eyes tell me.
Yeah.
I know. What's that? What's that, George?
So with the analytics and the predictiveness, one of the things that it can't tell you is, okay, and I'll use kids because that's my experience. Little Joey went 0 for 4, but he smoked the ball 4 different times at the third baseman, the outfielder, the shortstop, and they all made the plays. So it's like, oh, well, he went 0 for 4, and it doesn't pull that aspect into that conversation.
Your eyes tell you something different.
Exactly.
Your eyes tell you something different. This guy hit 4 bullets and he made 4 outs, but your eyes tell you that he hit 4 rockets.
And he's on it. So, And that's the one, and that's unfortunately the narrative that doesn't apply when you start using strictly analytics. And I think that that's where there's got to be some sort of a happy medium in between the two of them,
Yeah,
in
it's
my
tough.
opinion.
Yeah,
So
it's tough. When
yeah,
you rely completely on the analytics, you're playing a safe game. You're playing a boring game.
yeah.
Um,
You're playing a
you
video
know,
game.
playing a video game.
Yeah.
And people don't want to see that. They want to see the unseen. They want to see the unknown, the things they haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's a touchy subject. But I'm aware of the different sides of it, and I'm good with it. I can live with it. You know, the stats tell me one thing, but they can't predict what's going to happen. They
Yeah.
give you an idea, but you just have to use you're actually making a move happen, a decision. You have to make the decision that you can sleep with at night, because if you
Mhm.
can't, then you're in the wrong business.
Okay. So appreciate the time you spent with us today. Couple of things that we started to kind of do in this new edition of the podcast, because we haven't done a couple. So you're going to be the reintroduction of the podcast out there again.
Okay.
Just a couple of rapid fire questions that we just throw out. So you're ready for the
Yeah,
rapid fires?
let's go.
Um, American League or National League?
National League,
Designated hitter or no DH?
no DH.
Analytics or unanalytics? Had to throw that one out there.
Yeah. I'll say analytics.
Okay.
I'll say
Uh,
analytics with
okay.
you know, we discussed that, so I think
Yep.
it's not black and white. It's you know what I mean?
Sure. Sure. Um, Day night double headers or 7 inning double headers?
Oh, just regular doubleheader.
Okay. Okay.
Or day night. Day night's fine.
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't like sevens.
Okay. So those are our quick fire questions for today. Again, I definitely appreciate the fact of taking the time to come on the podcast on the Gripe Session and talk about your career, talk about some of the things going on in baseball. Last question. What do you
Yeah.
think? Do you think we're going to see a lockout, or do you think we're going to see baseball next year?
No, there's going to be a lockout, and I was surprised that there was baseball the year of the pandemic. I was shocked. I really thought that Rob Manfred would try to extend that into what's going to happen this year. And I think by the language you hear out there now, it's pretty obvious that that's what they want. So, based every few now it's, and thank God they haven't had a lockout or a strike in years, but
Hmm.
Every now and then someone's going to think that they can break the other side, and I'm afraid that's what baseball's headed for. So
Okay.
I'm hoping that cooler and smarter heads prevail. There's no reason to annihilate the other side.
I agree.
There's plenty of money out there. There's plenty of success out there for everybody.
I
So
agree.
there's no reason to do it.
Okay. What is your next obviously you're as we talked earlier before we turn on the podcast, you're in you're moving over to Florida. What's next for you? Are you still looking to coach? Are you just being around the game? Or are you looking to go back into coaching, with whether it be Major League Baseball or just colleges or kids, or what's next for Hojo?
Um, I'm still trying to get it back into the game.
Okay.
Um, but it's got to be a certain type of position.
Sure.
My age and my experience, it's kind of where I'm at. I'm very, very comfortable with my life right now, my family. We have our facility here in Nashville. Our goal is to try to build that and make it bigger. So that's always there. But yeah, I enjoy teaching. I enjoy doing that. I think possibly more of a consulting type of role,
Okay.
where I can come up and consult for a team or something, or a college team or whatever. Come in there and evaluate and just kind of give you an idea of different things, offensively, defensively, that sort of thing. But yeah, just definitely staying involved with the game. But you know, the days of riding the buses, all night are over for the Hojo.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but those were good days. I mean, I enjoyed those days. I learned a lot doing it. I took every minute of that and learned everything I could from it. And I've never stopped learning about the game. And I keep trying to understand the game from a fan's perspective and also from the player's perspective. I want to understand it because I want to be good at it. If I'm ever back involved with it, managing, coaching, whatever, I want to be good at it. So
That's great. So again, we appreciate the opportunity to have you on here. Hopefully we'll see you next year again at camp, and
definitely, I hope so.
we'll talk to you soon.
George, I appreciate it, man. Good luck to you. Okay, buddy.
Thanks, pal.